It's your vital life force. It's what makes Wendy Wendy. That's your chi. And when your chi gets, stagnant or deficient or excessive or just sort of gets dammed up, you end up having symptoms in your life. And so acupuncture, these tiny little needles placed, at different parts on the body, really help to regulate your flow of chi in a beneficial way. And so people not only feel super relaxed and amazing like while they're getting acupuncture, but they tend to notice that things that bother them over the course of time get better. But it's definitely not a one-time fixes all kind of thing. I definitely have had patients who felt remarkably better after one treatment. But most people, it takes 4 to 6 to 8 treatments to really start to notice the difference. And it does take, it's something you sort of commit to. It's not something you just sort of do as a one-off.
So when people find you and they say, "Oh, I found Dr. Katie. She's an integrative medicine doctor," and blah blah blah, what are the top 3 or 2 or 5 reasons they come to you for? Just because they want to try it, just because they're interested in, because they have pain somewhere, because they heard about you? Like, what are the top reasons that people first come to find you?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I think most people find me because they're having a symptom that bothers them. And usually it's not something that's like life or death. It's usually just one of those annoying things that really affects your quality of life. So it's the people who have, who have really rip roaring hot flashes and night sweats. Or other perimenopausal symptoms, but they don't want to take hormones, and hormones is all that their gynecologists have really recommended to them. It's people who have like a lot of bowel issues. Like over the course of time, they've noticed like, you know what, like my stool doesn't look normal. I feel bloated all of the time. Like even when I eat something healthy, like I don't really feel very good. And if I eat something that's not healthy, I feel even worse. It's chronic headaches and pain, back pain, neck pain, and it's things like knee osteoarthritis. When people play tennis or try to go on hikes and they have pain, but it's not something that prohibits them from like really living their life. It just really makes life annoying. And so I would say that those are the kinds of things that people seek acupuncture for most commonly in my practice.
Um, all good reasons too. And like I said, go to Dr. Katie, visit her, www.drkatie.com. If you just tuned in, find your balance, go see her. Now it's exciting. I want to talk about your 10-day guided health reset, your Dr. Katie detox, which I'm going to take you up on and try. And I'm
You're
excited.
Gonna do it.
Yes, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. You said to try it, so I'm going to start with you, and we'll talk about that separately. But explain to everybody what it is, and I'm excited to hear in depth as well, although we've talked about it, and then we'll have to come back again, and we have so much more to talk about because this is like totally fascinating to me.
Oh, it's going to be so fun, Wendy. You're going to love it. So the Dr. Katie Detox came out of this idea that my patients were coming to me and saying, like, I understand, in the office, like what I'm supposed to be eating. I understand like that I'm supposed to move, I'm supposed to move every day. I'm supposed to, do my best to sleep. I'm supposed to meditate, but like, how do I actually do that? And I realized that I needed to be more present with patients. And so I came up with this idea of like, let's reset the body. Let's let the body detoxify, but using all the natural mechanisms that are already in place. So you can get super fancy and you can take all sorts of supplements and you can do juice cleanses and all those kinds of things. But honestly, your body has its like innate wisdom, and our bodies already know what to do. We just don't really give it the opportunity. And so the Dr. Katie Detox is 10 days where we try to prioritize the stuff that means most to us, which is really cutting out crappy or inflammatory food and moving towards a more plant-forward, anti-inflammatory diet. And I guide you through that. We talk about doing 20 to 30 minutes of joyful movement every day. And the joyful is really important. Like, I don't want you to be like at a HIIT class and be miserable. I want you to do something that makes you feel amazing, And a lot of us just don't attend to our spiritual selves very much. We're taking care of other people, our kids, our older family members. We're taking care of our job before ourselves. And so this is an opportunity to take 5 minutes a day or more if you have time and really just focus on simple breathing exercises, a gratitude journal, ways to find your center. And then, of course, making sure that you give up all your night habits and your social media addiction and actually let your body rest. Most of us are actually not um, we're not really insufficiently sleepy if we're awake at night. We're actually excessively wakeful. We're over awake because we spend all day in fight or flight mode, and we spend all day sort of glued to our phones and hyper aware and thinking about all the stuff that we've got to think about. And so for 10 days, we invite you to actually just reset your biorhythms. And we do that in community. So another big piece is having a community of people. And I think because of who I am and the kind of person, the kind of doctor I am, the people that do the detox with me tend to be really lovely people. And so people get to know other people who are on the same journey. And we're sharing pictures of what we're having for lunch. And we're talking about, the fact that it's really hard to like give up 4 cups of coffee and move it down to one, and just all these like small shifts that we're all making together. And so there's a lot of camaraderie, and I think that's a really important thing, especially now because we're so distanced from a lot of our family and friends because of the current pandemic.
Yes, and I think the current pandemic has done good for people and bad for people. Some people
Oh
have put
yeah.
on that, pandemic 15 or 20 or whatever it is. Some people have lost it. It's been healing for me during that time. So that's awesome. A lot of thanks to you. But yeah, so all this stuff, the Dr. Katie Detox, finding balance, I think it's so important. I'm going to start it. I'll have you back again after I do it. We'll talk about my experience through it, and we'll talk about the people that I've met and, what I've discovered through it. So people can learn more about it. So www.drkatie.com, go visit her. Last minute, take us through a day in the life of are those smoothies, those fad diets, the intermittent fasting. Do you believe in all that stuff?
Oh, that's a really good question. So, I don't love smoothies. I think smoothies can be a really great vehicle for lots of people. I think because of my Ohio roots, I just really prefer to like chew my food, and my belly feels a little more satiated when I actually go through the act of mindful chewing. And so one of the things that I've been really good about in the last couple of years is actually just trying to pay attention when I eat. So like during my day, I have a little break at midday for lunch. I actually try to get out of my office space and I go either to sit outside or as close to outside as I can get. And I just put my phone down and I just focus on my food for the 20 minutes that it takes me maybe to have lunch. And I've noticed that when I do that, I actually feel fuller. So it's kind of a cool thing to actually just pay attention to your food. But I think a lot of good nutrition can be delivered in smoothies, but they have to be balanced. So it's really important that your smoothie not just be a glorified milkshake. So if you're going to your local like juice bar and getting something that when you slurp it down tastes amazing, then you just know there's way too much sugar in it. A smoothie, in my estimation, should be just sweet enough that you want to drink it. It should have a ratio of vegetables to fruit of maybe 2 vegetables per fruit or more vegetables, and then it needs to have protein and fat. And most times when people are telling me about the smoothies that they're making at home, they don't really have so much balance, or worse, they have extra things added to them that are actually quite toxic, like whey protein or things of that nature. I'm not really a big fan of sort of like the faddish sort of things either, like a lot of the fake foods that are out there that are supposed to mimic, different states in the body. I really believe that if you can't look at something and know where it comes from, then it's probably not very good for your body because your body doesn't know how to digest it. So I really believe in coming back to real food and not relying on bars and little snack packs and things like that that don't exist in nature. And as far as intermittent fasting, I'm a big fan of intermittent fasting, but only when your body is metabolically flexible enough to do it. I have found personally that prior to COVID, when my stress levels were a little bit better controlled, intermittent fasting wasn't really that hard for me. But once my stress started to go up, just with rising to the occasion during the pandemic, working in the ICU, trying to balance my practice and homeschooling and just all the changes that were happening in my family, I noticed that my stress levels were going up and that it was actually impossible to intermittent fast. And I have found that, in my own life that I sort of lean in and out of it as my body sort of tells me that I need to do it. And, I think intermittent fasting for some people can be a really effective way of stretching that window at night where you're not eating anything. And I would sort of say blanketly across the board, most people need to spend at least 12 hours without food overnight. So if you can close your kitchen at 7 p.m. and not open it again until 7 a.m. the next day, then you're doing your own version of intermittent fasting, and that is probably good enough for most people. If you want to stretch it a little bit further to 18 hours or even 24 hours or longer, then that can be, sort of work for you if you're metabolically flexible enough to do that. But a lot of that flexibility really depends on stress.
Check out Dr. Katie's detox. This was such an inspirational and learning experience in this half hour. So check her out. She'll be back again. Thanks so much, Dr. Katie, for being here today.
Oh, Wendy, it's my sincere pleasure. You're a joy, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
It was so great. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks for joining me on this episode of What's Up with Wendy. If you love this episode, head over to iTunes or your favorite platform to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Please also follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at What's Up with Wendy. You can learn more about my podcast on my website, whatsupwithwendy.com. Until next time, this is Wendy Lowy Sloan. Keep being kind.